Welcome to On the Chain. Chip here, sitting in for Jeff and I. Jeff is on a family outing today, and family comes first. So there we are. Today you'll be flying solo. So we're going to take a look at a couple things today. First of all, on-demand liquidity, better known as ODL. Is it dead? Is Ripple sunsetting ODL? We're going to talk about that. Also, Senator Warren Pocahontas, that's right, she is at it again. She is picked up her anti-crypto army and she's making waves, doing some other fun stuff in the space. I wouldn't say fun, but I think she's really paying attention to what's going on. This is what happens with most politicians. They live in a bubble. They live with their little constituents, their focus groups, which are three people telling them everything they're doing is right. I think they're in for a pretty big shock come voting season. Also, FTX dumping crypto. What does that mean for us? They just got approval to dump crypto on the crypto community at large, and also to document storage on the XRPL. Is that even possible? Take a look at that as well. You guys ready? Strap in. We're going for a ride.
Welcome to On the Chain.
Welcome to everybody on the chain. I just want to say thank you to everybody who continues to show up, who continues to be out there on Crypto X, I call it now, because Twitter, right? You'll hear me call it Twitter at time, but it's actually X. But big shout out to the OTC family. And if you guys drop in where you're coming from on the rewatch, go ahead, drop in the comments. We read every one of them, positive, negative, in between. We read them all. Jeff and I always love them. Sometimes the negative comments are some of the best, and sometimes you guys give amazing feedback, stuff for us to think about. So, we do listen to you, and it's a great way to voice your opinion. Probably the best way, though, is show up for the live stream, because there's always a show within a show happening. So drop in where you guys are coming in from. There you go. Good morning. What's up, Rough Rican? In the house. Ray the Muss in the awesome. Just hit it like it's awesome. There you go, right there. So it's also great you guys here. Kelly's in the house as well. O-Town, we know O-Town. President accounted for crypto back. Boy, awesome. Love that. Okay, Capitano, good afternoon from Scotland. Prepping dinner. Beautiful, man. Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, every time I think of Scotland, I think of one thing and one thing only, and that is Scotch whiskey. That's it. Spelled not with the E, it's so funny. It's like people will be like, "Oh, you spelled whiskey wrong." I'm like, "Well, it depends. If we're talking about whiskey and Scotch whiskey, then it's without the E, K-E-Y. It's K-Y, right? So you got to kind of school some people because they just don't know. We got Andrew Smith coming in from down under. What's going on, Andrew? Good to see you in here too. And everyone's popping in from all over again. We got Michigan in the house. We got Melbourne. Not Melbourne, Australia, Melbourne, Florida. There we go, right there. So it's great to have you guys with us today. We're going to jump into a couple things. I thought I'd start this off just because there's so much dissent that I hear on Crypto X. And what am I talking about here? Well, there's like two camps emerging. There's the people who believe that the only way that XRP will ramp up in price are by the efforts of Ripple. And that's pretty weird because didn't we just have a court case where the SEC went after Ripple because they said that everybody who bought XRP was relying on the efforts of Ripple? It's kind of weird. So the space really belongs to the builders. The space belongs to the great thing. Ripple, yeah, great. Ripple was gifted OpenCoin. OpenCoin became XRP. XRPL was invented by, Jen McCaleb and of course, David Schwartz. And I think Brito was part of it as well. But if we think about that, something amazing was created, something decentralized, the XRPL and what it's able to do for the interoperability. And now what we're getting coming up with the side chains. The building is ramping up, and I think a lot of people are missing this. I think they're missing the significance of the builders, the people. And if, I've had a couple startups, one I sold successfully, one failed catastrophically, despite getting great write-ups in TechCrunch, and despite being, consulted for, industry-wide. Sometimes with any startup, you can be too early. And we certainly saw that with some startups in the space just were too early. Not that the idea wasn't there. Even Apple's been there, right? Apple came out with their first tablet called the Newton. I want to say it was back in the early 90s. And it was a great idea. You could have this tablet. People were like, what the hell's that? The problem was there was no infrastructure to support it. It didn't do a lot. There was no internet they could connect to. It was just a writing utensil. And people thought, okay, let's come out with the Apple Newton. Great idea, just way too early. This happens quite often in tech, where people are just too early to the game. And sometimes you want to change an industry, you want to be that voice. Well, the voice is the people that are building on the XRPL. What I want to start off today with taking a look at is, I want to show this first because I want to give all credit to where credit's due here. But I want to look at this. So Mason Lighthouse, go follow him. He's at Zerpenator, Zerpenator. Another OG in the space, been around forever. And he says, yes, we are the builders. Video filmed at Apex Dev Summit is ready. Thank you to all that participated. It was hard work, but so much fun to create this. Enjoy, like, and share. Thank you, RippleXDev. So these are all the people. You have the XRPL Foundation in here, XRP Labs, XRP Scan. You have BitHump. These are all the people that are featured in here. Shen, Evernode, Tori West. This is Mayuka Vadari. She's the programmer over there at Ripple. Piercist, just incredible. Uchi Beke, Christy over there at the Evernode. Hooks supports all things Hooks and Evernode. Towu Labs, which we know has been a big builder for a while in the space. And of course, Futureverse, just leading the way. You saw that Ripple just made a significant investment, but Futureverse is leading the pack. If you want to see stuff that's being done in AI, especially on the music side of things, what they are doing is mind-blowing. And I'm going to be covering them and Jeff a little bit more, because I think what they're doing in the Web3 space is beyond significant. It's just game changer stuff, and I don't think it gets enough. So I want to really start covering some of the stuff that they're doing. We've had Aaron on the McDonald on the show, and I'd like to have him back on. We had him on about a year ago, but we'd like to have him back on as well. Just crushing in this space. So exciting what's happening. And sometimes we get in this little zero focus world, we're missing it. And of course, the XRPL comments. So I want to just kind of shout out some of the people that are featuring this. And before I play this, I want to talk a little bit about the fact that when you put together a short video, you're talking about going through hours of footage to watch all the footage, mark down, create a narrative, and then create a story. So not like I don't want to get too much into the behind the scenes of how this stuff goes down, but I've edited a lot of stuff as well. I put together, comb through hours of footage to build something that's small, that's cohesive, that makes sense, and actually speaks and tells a very interesting story. So what we're going to take a look at is we're going to take a look at this short film called We Are the Builders. And this is just phenomenal. It's mind-blowing, but it tells a unique story that I think sometimes we all miss. And I'll put it up there. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. I want to get your feedback on this. I want to hear from you guys and what your thoughts are about this. But let's take a look. Opens up with just a title, so it might be just a little bit of so it opens up with the title, We Are the Builders, and then it starts flipping through some faces.
The first time I saw programming code, I felt very overwhelmed. But then I felt like Neo in the Matrix.
I became curious.
The top of the table, because I was about 7.
It was like magic.
Honestly, pretty confused.
I felt quite scared.
とても面白い。
There would be no day I could understand what I was reading.
And I remember waking up one day after staying up until 1 in the morning, I just looked at the code and I could understand it.
I program because it allows me to solve complex problems.
Coding allows me to, I guess, bring value to the world through my thinking and deep contemplation.
Sometimes, I can consider myself an artist, and in that, the code is my expression.
You can just change your whole world around you.
When I write code, I become just myself.
frustrated.
Like Superman.
I become intense.
Obsessed.
楽しい
I become a magician.
I can become every emotion that's out there.
I become Gollum because code is my precious.
The most beautiful code I've ever seen was a compression algorithm.
My code is always beautiful.
A piece of code from a junior developer that didn't know anything about coding, but just did it.
When my code fails, I run to Google.
If it doesn't fail, then I look into why it doesn't fail.
I use ChatGPT to debug my code and help me fix it.
I usually just bang my head against it.
I try again.
When my code fails, I've no rest, only test.
And if you don't give up, you end up learning.
Meeting developers in real life is fun. You actually can see who is behind the Twitter images.
Makes me feel way less nerdy than I really am, so it's great, and I love speaking to other people who also, you know, do very similar things to me, which is not often in real life.
It's actually a little bit overwhelming at first because you're not sure how much smarter they are than you.
It's so nice to see so many smart people in one place.
It's been really amazing. Just not worry about what you're wearing or what sort of background you come from, because we speak the same language of being a geek. So I love it.
The first time I saw programming.
What's the first thing that comes to mind?
No, I gotta say that.
Serious face, happy face, what would you like?
Yeah, just a normal face. Yeah.
And I think that's
it?
Yeah, I think that's
well, it's perfect. Excellent, thank you.
So shout out to the Mason Lighthouse. There you go. Beautiful. Also, too, people are saying something about my audio. Tell me if it's any better. I adjusted what I could. Unfortunately, when Jeff's not here, it's really hard to understand. I was actually listening to the live video. It does sound a little bit muffled, but let me know if that sounds better. I moved the mic a little bit further away. I'm still going to have to tweak something because my audio has always been a little bit squirrely, but let me know if that's a little bit better. What you saw in that video is these are people, you know, people like, they think like things are magic. One of the guys said it was magic when he was thinking about code, because it was all about them generating ideas, topics, and what they thought about, you know, what it was like the first time you took a look at code. What was it? If you guys look at just like it, even HTML, but if you guys look over, if you take a look at any code, it's like, what the hell's going on here? And the one guy even mentioned like, hey, I was up to 1 a.m, but then it finally made sense. But these are the people that are making stuff, you know, and solving complex problems. And that was one of the things that was referenced in the video too. So a lot of great tidbits in that story, that what builders are actually doing and how they're actually fundamentally changing what's going on out there. I think it's really much better. So thanks, guys. Thank you for the heads up. You guys always have my back. I love it. I think sometimes I was too close to the microphone, and you know, it's on an arm and I swing it over here, and sometimes it's just too close, but thanks for that. And I think sometimes we get sort of focused on price, and like there's a price movement and XRP was up. And then when you know, that's just one example, but we look at Bitcoin, you know, Bitcoin is sitting at, you know, 25, and then it was like inching towards 30, but you know, it's been as high as 67K. Is it going past that? Of course it's going to go past that. Is it going to break 100,000? At some point it will. And all-time highs for even XRP, people thought when the case settled, I thought it would at least break $1. I thought I might even break 2, but for it to come back down. But it's the market is cyclical. We are in a, you know, we're kind of in a lull right now when it comes to the market itself, and everything's derivative and really ebbs and flows with the price of Bitcoin. When sentiment is high, Bitcoin is doing really well. When sentiment is low, it's doing bad. You know, it's not doing so well. So, you know, in a bear market, this is kind of where we're at. But again, you know, once in a while, you might see some price movement that moves outside of Bitcoin, but it's few and far between. And we think about the builders in the space. This is what we are excited about and what's going on. And I talked about those two camps. A lot of people are just like Ripple this and Ripple that, and listen, Ripple's extremely important, but Ripple is it dug the well, right? The XRPL is really what everything will be built upon. All these different payment companies that use the XRPL, especially for interoperability. This is just massive. So when we think about this on a massive scale, it's just incredible. So I wanted to put that up there. I thought Mason Lighthouse did a phenomenal job on that and made it entertaining, right? Do you want to watch a whole movie on, like, coders talking about the tech stuff, or do you want them talking about the human part of it, the solving the problems, what are we doing to fix things and make things a better world? How are we improving the payment space? We're going to get into something in a little bit. Talked about document storage. Saw something, people are looking to store documents in the XRPL. I thought that was rather interesting as well. Here's another one. Let me see. Hang on a second, guys. Let me just figure out what I want to go to next here. I think this is pretty fitting too. So one of the things that I saw somebody, and it was maybe like a week ago, but somebody realized that going to Ripple.com, the on-demand liquidity page was gone, was scrubbed. Same page, but different content. So there was a lot of speculation on what was happening. Hey, what's happening? We don't see ODL anymore. There's no ODL. There's no on-demand liquidity. What's going on? Is it sunsetted? What's really happening? And so we finally have an answer here, because we have. Let me just start off by this. Here we go. Let's add this here. And let's pull out a little bit here. There we go. Yikes. There we go. Oh, here we are. So Daikoku asked a question about what happened to, the reference to ODL and cross-border payments. Emi Yoshikawa, who is a Ripple employee, her title escapes me at the moment, but she replied, obviously you can see it's in Japanese, talking about ODL, but just thanks for the comment over here. He's got the translated. So this was the answer about ODL on the Ripple website. ODL is a word that's difficult to understand at first glance for outsiders. So we, meaning Ripple, have decided to consolidate it into the term Ripple payments. ODL still exists as a function. And if you guys are around the space for any length of time, you know that the evolution of Ripple software has moved and changed over time. They would be like, Ripple net and Ripple this and all that. And a lot of that's been consolidated. And let's face it, a lot of times tech teams and people that are writing tech aren't the best people to actually build stuff, for naming conventions. Not because it just maybe doesn't appeal to the masses, but when you talked about ODL, what's ODL? It's like, well, it's on-demand liquidity. Well, what does that mean? Well, Ripple payments. Oh, okay. What's Ripple payments? Yeah, we deal with cross-border, payments. Oh, okay, great. So a lot of times, sourcing the liquidity, having that on demand makes a lot of sense, but to an outsider, doesn't really connect as well. And you think about something along the lines of Ripple payments. Okay, I know that it's payments, right? Cross-border payments. It makes a lot more sense. So I like the fact that they've it doesn't mean that ODL doesn't exist. It's just they're not languaging it like that anymore. They're using the term Ripple payments, and I think that's really good. So ODL is still there, and ODL is going to be very important. Sourcing that liquidity, because a lot of the problems we have with crypto in general comes down to liquidity. And the whole idea, especially where a lot of people are saying, well, Chip, they're not having ODL is not. There's certain things we're not using XRP, especially in the US and this and that. That's not the part that really matters. I mean, the functionality, the core functionality is that when the interoperability of the XRPL runs through XRP. So if we're going from a stable coin to a fiat currency, it's all happening on the XRPL through XRP. So there's that functionality. And the thing is like, if the brilliant part of it is that no matter who you are in the payment space, if you want to use whatever token of value that you want to use, whichever digital asset, that's great. If Bitcoin is your choice, you want to be Bitcoin. You're, President Bukele down in El Salvador, and you built your whole infrastructure and recognized Bitcoin as a currency, as value, then you want to move this really quick. Well, the best way would be spend the bits, because that leverages the XRPL. So having that liquidity, and I know it's not available everywhere, but again, the fastest way to move Bitcoin is on the XRPL, and spend the bits has demonstrated that time and time again. So there you go, right there. And I want to move through this here. What do we have here? This talks a little bit. So I saw this tweet by Crypto Eddie, and I should say X post. Man, it's going to be a hard habit to break there. And I want to first of all read his tweet here. Let's tweet. Did I just say tweet? His X post. I just said it again, man. But let's look at this right here. This is what Digital Asset Investor said. He said. Here he says, some would think that these things said by influencers to hype XRP, they were actually said by Ripple. This is why I'm here. I believe them. In it to win it. And so these are some of the phrases. So XRP could help in a systemic risk situation and other financial crisis. XRP could be like a supernatural currency similar to the Swiss franc. Supranational currency similar to the Swiss franc. XRP's simple goal, to be a world reserve digital currency. I have to check on that one. I don't know. The Ripple said that. I mean, David Schwartz might have alluded, saying, I've heard him on Spaces saying, yeah, it could be a world reserve currency, but I don't think it's as a matter of fact of XRP goal, simple goal, be the world. This is a lot of stuff that I hear from hypesters. But again, surmising when asked the question, could it be? Yeah, it could be, but it's not like it's a tenet of Ripple to be the world reserve currency. Another one here, creator's goal was for XRP to be a world reserve currency. Similar in nature, Ripple XRP goal to have liquidity of a G10 currency. Ripple is in fact replacing SWIFT. Yeah, that narrative's gone. We've moved way away from that narrative of replacing SWIFT. And a lot of that narrative had to do with, in the beginning, in my opinion, was not necessarily you replace SWIFT, right? Because it was the banks that put it in place in the mid 70s, and it's a function of the banks, and they put it together. It's a messaging system. You can see that SWIFT has come a long way, and what they've been dabbling in and running tests. And it's more or less the technology that replaces the legacy technology. Not so much so necessarily that Ripple replaces SWIFT. It's like, you're out, we're in. It's more or less the coexisting in the space, in moving value very quickly. Swift's going to find their own way. But again, I always thought it was more about not necessarily replacing them. It's not like when Yahoo was around. Yahoo was first, and now who really goes to Yahoo to search for stuff, right? Everybody goes to Google. But Google came in. They can coexist. That Google came in to replace Yahoo. Did all these other legacy, Mr. Jeeves, and all these other search type platforms, did they replace it? Not necessarily. Is there somebody that's going to replace Google? Well, in some senses, you could say that Google primarily makes most of its money. Most of its value is derived from paid advertising. And with the advent of AI and how people are finding things on the internet, that is going to be at risk. And people say, well, no, it's Google. You're always going to go to Google. Maybe so. But there's different ways. And if you look at how Bing has leveraged ChatGPT's engine, that they're using it and they're incorporating it in a variety of different ways, especially in their search engine, you can get much different answers because a lot of, I wouldn't say gaming the system. I guess there's ways to make your content show up, but also there's algorithms. So I think that Bing relies less on algorithms and more about the AI to get at the heart of what you're actually looking for. A lot of times you search for stuff and you get this is what Google wants you to see type of stuff. And I don't have to get into the exact part of that, but I would just go into, there's a lot of, I'm trying to say this the right way. There's a lot of algorithms that want to feature one content over another. Best put that way. So Crypto Eddie, what she's saying here is that, and I really agree with this sentiment, and I have for a long time. Unlike DAI, I don't rely on the efforts of Ripple to build up the price of XRP. I never have, I never will, especially when accounting for single-digit impact on volume. It's surprising after surviving the SEC attack, anyone would subscribe to this reliance. And again, it's like, are we deaf in the space? I mean, is there a certain amount of tone deafness going on especially when most of us, or a lot of us certainly, invested in XRP or bought digital tokens. I've always talked about my evolution. My evolution was Bitcoin. I was brought into the space by Bitcoin maxi. I was a Bitcoin maxi. I believed that Bitcoin was the only digital token. Everything else was garbage. The terminology shitcoin, because as you come into the space and as you start looking at what you start looking and say, like, yeah, well, that makes sense, right? It's truly decentralized. Nobody knows who created it. There's no way to game it. There's no centralized body. And then I was also told that if you want something, don't look at XRP. It's a banker's coin, right? That was the popular narrative years ago. It's a banker's coin. Don't look at it. Banks are not, Bitcoin. We don't like banks. We don't like government. We don't like anything. We're totally breaking out of this shell. And the funny part about that is when banks started being able to custody crypto, when Brooks came out with that narrative, that addictive a couple years ago, everybody is then, who are cheering the loudest for that? The Bitcoiners, like, finally we can be in banks. Oh, wait a minute, you guys hated banks. You guys were all for, no government, anarchy, so it all kind of flows back. And we think about those old narratives about how the space was impacted and how it looked. That's how I came to it. And so I was told that if you don't look at XRP, look at XML, right? Or XML. No, look at other ones that are decentralized, right? Do not necessarily think that you are going to have. So I started looking at, okay, well, what's decentralized, what's not? Then I did something interesting. I did my own research, and I was like, I couldn't subscribe to that narrative anymore because it didn't make sense to me. And the deeper I got with a lot of other tokens out there, a lot of digital assets, I was like, wait a minute, this isn't necessarily true, and I'm not sure I'm buying this narrative anymore. So it sort of changed quite a bit for me. So I want to jump into this next topic. But again, even Bitcoin maxis there is hope out there, because I was one. That was the first digital asset I ever purchased in 2013. And I never really even saw it's sad how much Bitcoin I once owned and how much I sold when it 4x'd. And I was like, 4x, that's so awesome. If you're in the stock market and you 4x, that's fantastic. Who knew, right? I mean, it could have been a different scenario, but I never quite grasped the significance of Bitcoin early days. And it was always sort of sometimes that's, a lot of us, right? You go back in time machines, like XRP moons, whatever digital asset moons for you, and then you build a time machine, you go back, and what do? Tell yourself to buy Bitcoin. That's what you do early days when it's like $4, $3, you buy thousands of it, right? And then you kind of just hold it. But on the narrative of Bitcoin, I want to throw this up. I've seen this many, many times, but it had me started to think about it again, just because this isn't anything new. You guys have probably seen this, but again, it had me thinking about this again. So as I started looking at this, Daniel Roberts put this tweet out, this X post, I should say. He said, the NSA invented Bitcoin? Question, right? Did the NSA invent Bitcoin? And what he's looking at is a 1996 paper that was titled How to Make a Mint, the Cryptography of the Anonymous Electronic Cash. Sources include Tatsuaki Akamoto. Geez, that sounds almost like, sounds familiar, right? It sounds very like it could be surprised emoji. Who else would be able to sit anonymously on 1 million tokens? Oh, and they invented SHA 256. And he goes back to here. Here's the paper right here, 1996, right? How to make the mint, the cryptography of anonymous electronic cash. What is electronic cash? The payment system, electronic cash counterfeiting, cryptographic description, public keys, cryptographic tools, a simple electronic cash protocol, untraceable electronic payments. Geez, is this describing Bitcoin? A basic electronic cash protocol, proposed offline implementations, operational features of offline cash, transferability, divisibility. Very interesting. And then right here, you can see they reference right here, see Tony Ng and Tatsuaki Akamoto. It sounds, obviously, many Japanese names will sound very similar to that. But again, I think really the connection here is the fact that this was done in 1996, and we're talking about cryptographic anonymous electronic cash. And they're using the word cash here because we didn't have another name. We didn't have the terminology of digital tokens, digital assets, crypto. I mean, obviously crypto currency is derived from cryptographic. So they're calling it what the legacy structure was called as cash. But I do think it's interesting. Maybe it may not have been the NSA, but you can see right here, this certainly lays it out in the concepts. This could have had other people thinking, wow, this you might be onto something here. And then the paper is referenced right over here. It's over at MIT, and you can read more about it. But again, the best way to do that is to go to onthechain.io. And I haven't seen a lot more of you subscribe to our email. Our email drops a summary of the show because you're not going to watch every one of them. We love it when you do, but let's face it, you're not going to watch every one of them. And the ones you do watch, let me go over here real quick here. But the ones that you do watch, it's fine and dandy and all, but everything else, the actual emails themselves. So if you scroll down here, join the OTC family, put your name and email, and then we go ahead and email that out. And I'll show you kind of a little bit of what it looks like just by going to one of our most recent shows. Let's see if this is one to look at. Okay, I don't know why this is coming soon, but let's see. Hang on a second. Here we go. And let's make this a little bit larger on the screen here. But I'll just give you an idea what this looks like. So there's the podcast on there. This is the web version of it, but this is what you get via email. I'll tell you the show summary, everything we spoke about, kind of gives you an idea of what we were talking about. And also our videos are chaptered, so you can go in there and if there's something specific you want to rewatch or see. Of course, for some advertisements for our badass Yetis and our coffee. We link to all the articles we discussed, and this goes in an email format, so you can see that, or hey, that was pretty interesting. I wanted to repost that, or I wanted to comment on that, and that's kind of what you get inside of the email, and it goes out there every single day. And there you go. There's an idea of what it is, or you can come here directly and you can look it up. The last couple things we talked about. So anyway, go subscribe on thechain.io. I will drop the link in there. So you guys can go ahead and sign up for that list, and we don't spam because we don't like spam. I think Jeff and I despise it, so there's not going to be any spam going on there. And there it is. Okay, so what else do we have in the grab bag? What do we have in the grab bag? Let's see what we have here. Let's take a look at the comments here. Let's see, what is Jim D saying here? Take a look here. Jim D saying the biggest risk to cryptocurrency gaining critical mass to moon for us is the fast rate of national currencies, dense, and GDPs collapsing and triggering war and uprisings. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point right there. Very easy on hydroponics. Alan says that's why you should always hold at least 10% of your best crypto bags for the long game. Crypto Ready says, oh, Tatsuaki means a clear autumn that stands out. Common name. See, that's what I was saying. It's like you're going to hear stuff that sounds common. So like if you heard American, mostly, English type names, you'd be like Robert Smith, and it's like everything sounds the same. So appreciate that right there. Means a clear autumn. But the point is that a lot of what was referenced in that was really the precursor for describing what could later become a Bitcoin. So there you go. It's interesting to here we go. A lot of people shouting out Crypto Eddie here. So we got Princess Eddie. So there you go. Says Dawn. Everyone's saying a good hello, so thank you for that. But I think it's important to note that I don't really. I mean, will we ever really find out who invented Bitcoin? I don't think it matters. It's always fun to speculate, but it's interesting to see a paper written in 1996, which basically lays out the fundamentals of what later becomes Bitcoin. And it's also interesting too, during the 2007, 2008 collapse, the financial markets, around the world, a massive collapse where a lot of people were investing in buying the bad paper from mortgages, where people were like, I remember the commercials, 110% mortgage. I'm like, what's that? Well, they pay you to get a mortgage. It was absolutely ridiculous. Do you have a heartbeat? Do you have a pulse? Do we even have to get clarification? You have a heartbeat and pulse? No, just sign a piece of paper. And later it said people were coerced into signing papers and getting mortgages they couldn't afford. It's so funny, the narrative. Everybody wants to make a victim out of everybody. We have this victim mentality. It's worldwide. We have to somehow protect people. We have to protect certain groups of people, minorities. Let's treat them like they're less than everybody else because they're a smaller subset. It's like, well, what is wrong with you people? You think you have to bail out a certain group of people? They don't need your help. They really don't need your help. How about you treat them like human beings? How about you treat everybody the same? And how about you don't have this complete victimhood? And so we saw a lot of this that was going around, which is absolutely incredible and ridiculous of what you could see. Yeah, and this is true too. So Crypto says she's often in the house but kept quiet, and that's fine too. There's a lot of people too that they're here they watch, they're pretty avid viewers, and they just never comment. They just want to listen. Listen, man, you want to listen? Listen. That's why we offer the podcast version. Yeah, sometimes we show videos. We'll have a video up here. We'll throw something up there. And it's a little bit weird if you don't have the visual on it. You're like, what the hell's going on? I don't know what's happening here. Which sometimes you'll hear me. I'll try to describe it because I know a lot of people just like to, maybe the commute, they want to put it on there. But, if you go to Apple Podcast or Google Podcast, we're pretty much everywhere that podcasts can be found. And there's that audio version. You don't have to necessarily pop us up on YouTube and let that sit and on your mobile device. You can also reach us on audio as well. Okay, so speaking of that, I got another video too. This one I thought was funny. I saw Win post this on his YouTube page, but this, I don't know, I got a good laugh out of it. I want to play it for you, but it's if you think about the salt flats, it looks like more like desert, but it's just a lot of nothingness. And you see one guy walking up to a lemonade stand. I'm gonna set the tone here because some of it, especially for people that are listening, doesn't make any sense. It's a lemonade stand. You see out there in the middle of the salt flats. It looks like one of those kid lemonade stands, lemonade. And of course he wants to buy some lemonade, but let's just take a look at this. This is interesting.
I am dying out here. How much?
$1 worth of lemon coin, which is approximately 1,000 lemon coins. Whoa. I only accept cryptocurrency here, preferably lemon coin.
I don't have whatever a lemon coin is.
Well, lemon coin's my utility token. It doesn't have a lot of utility yet, but we're working on it.
Cool. I don't have lemon coin.
Fine. I'll also take Bitcoin or Doge.
How do I get lemon coin? Why is this so difficult?
It's the future of business. A trustless system without third parties.
I'm going to need your passport, bank info, social security number, and a selfie with today's date.
I thought you said this was a trustless system.
Oh, it is as soon as the exchange trusts you.
You could trust us. We are the #1 crypto exchange in all of Krashimia.
You can make this an
Croatia.
easy transaction if you just follow the protocol, okay?
Okay.
Smile. Say KYC. Okay, so this will take a week or so.
This is ridiculous. You're telling me that if anybody wants to buy lemonade, they need to go through this process?
Yeah, I've already got like a dozen customers.
3 to 5
Your
business
account is
days
verified,
later.
funds deposited. You have a private key. The key number is 0x225D998569. Do not forget or else all your funds will be lost forever. Okay, thank you. Bye.
What? Did he just say that my funds can be lost forever?
Yeah, it happens to the best of us. Just
blame this stupid process. This is ludicrous. Can I just have my lemonade now?
I just need to get a consensus on this transaction. It'll be real quick. Hold on. Yeah, looks like this transaction is validated. Yeah, we're gonna have that fixed in Q1 of next year. It's already on the roadmap.
So this is hilarious, right? I mean, this is everything in a bubble. It really makes fun of a lot there, but especially the KYC. KYC shows up. It's like, wait a minute, it's permissionless, trustless, but oh, wait a minute. In order to buy it, we've got to take your picture, social security number. We need your address, all your vitals, your blood type, and shows up with a little camera, takes the photo. 3 to 5 days later, there you go. And then when the guy finally gets his lemonade, the cup's got holes in it. So yeah, just like anything else, you rushed it to market. It reminds me a little bit of Ethereum. Kind of get it out there, make sure. Oh, is it what we intended? Doesn't matter. We sold it to everybody. We did a pre-IPO or ICO here, and as long as people got it, we'll fix it. We'll fix it later. And that's what he says. Oh, yeah, it's on the roadmap to fix that particular issue. But in a very clever way, it makes fun of a lot of what we think about the digital asset space. But that was fun. I enjoyed that. I watched it a couple of times, laughed out loud, and try to keep my laughing to a minimum here. But yeah, that succinctly kind of tells the story about how it works. So I actually really enjoyed that. What else we have on the great? Oh, here we go. So this is something that I saw Panos tweet out here, X out. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna do that all day, aren't I? So there you go. But this is it right here. But this is here we go. Holy cow. At the controls today. So we talked about many great developments on the XRPL at the same time. So bullish on the XRPL ecosystem. Again, let's get back to that narrative. It's the builders. It's to sit there and think about you're going to rely on one company. It's just ridiculous. Yeah, they build something, they make software. So their money is made, they sell software. Do they care if the price of XRP goes up? They really don't. What's going to drive that are the builders on here. And this is interesting. So XLS-48D will allow users to store small chunks of data called documents, either directly on Ledger or with an on Ledger reference to data stored off Ledger. So this is interesting. So, what you don't want to do is cloud the XRPL of what it's not intended to do. You don't want all this, people were putting garbage trends, just like doing micropayments just to put notes up there in the XRPL. But I think what's significant here is you could actually store the exact location, because there's other ways to store documents permanently on the internet too that other systems. But here it's like you could actually have a pointer to an off ledger data where the really data is going to be, because it's small chunks, right? The XRPL is limited. But this was the actual idea here that was tweeted out for document storage. This is Taku X here. And again, another developer building. I got a little typo in there. So let's say developer instead of developer. But this is it. Let's see. Translate. Is it translated? Yeah, there it is. Let's see. So you can look it up here. This is the XLS-48D document storage. You can read up on it, but it's over there on GitHub. But again, you start seeing that people wanting to build. Let me get this tweet here. Let's see what this one says. Yeah, create a unique object using account's address plus document number rather than storing some data in an off-ledger database. You can now store it on the ledger. Of course, this is a feature that I wanted. So this is a lot of where somebody says, hey, this is how it always starts. Wouldn't it be cool if almost everything that was created in the world was some derivative of this thought? Wouldn't it be cool if? So you search for, does this already exist? Did somebody already create this? Is there a way? The thing I do, most of the time, the stuff that I am on Google about is documentation, looking for answers about something. Hey, how does this? And I'm like, this doesn't exist? Well, that's where a builder comes in. A builder says, like, that doesn't exist. Would it be cool if I could do this and then this were possible and then this doesn't exist, or this is possible doesn't exist? So that's how you build it. It's solving problems. It's to create less friction. And this is what the builders are all about. And this is really what this comes down to here. Let me go back here. I think there was something else. There might have been another tweet. There was one more here. Fortunately, you got to click on the individual one to be able to translate it. And this one said, although it's said to be arbitrary data, there is a limit to the data size. There is. So it'd be interesting if something like this would be accepted. But I just, the idea of the thinking that's going on. Yeah, you're not going to, there's something called Filecoin where you talk about document storage. There's a use case for that. There's a way to store that. But again, to have it on the XRPL, I think is very interesting. So again, builders doing cool stuff in the space. This was an awesome meme that I had seen. This is make this a little bit bigger, but this is this came to us by Crypto Meme Guy Inc. XRP Meme Guy, and this says this is the handbook for the out of the Dummies series. You know, handing over the crypto industry to the incumbents for dummies. Of course, there's Gary Gensler featured there, and it says by Gary Gensler, questions and answers provided by Elizabeth Warren. A reference for the rest of us. That's clever. It's funny. And we also know Elizabeth Warren and her minions. They're the anti-crypto army. She's running on one of her like top 3 things she's running on. The other 2, we don't need to get into. The only one that really care about, one of them already exists, but apparently she's doesn't know because, well, they're in government. What do they know? So, but this is kind of funny. Questions and answers. You guys remember famously one of the hearings that Gary Gensler was in where Senator Warren was questioning him, and later it was revealed that, yes, in fact, she had gone back and forth in emails, provided him the questions, actually asked him, what would you like to be asked? And the questions ahead of time. So that's where this reference comes to us from. But there he is, the big dummy, Gary Gensler. And I'm convinced more than ever that this guy is really lost the narrative. He's really lost every possible thing going on. He doesn't care about anything, all the stuff he invents and makes up. And we live in a world now where you just speak it into existence. Doesn't matter if there's facts, doesn't matter if there's anything going on. You just say, well, I didn't say that. We have video on you. That's not me. Well, here you are saying it. I didn't mean that. So everything can be explained away because we're living in this fantasy world of nothing makes sense. Everything's clear. Turns out nothing was clear, and what really is clear is that Judge Torres on July 13, 2023 said that XRP not a security. We also know Bitcoin is not a security. So the narrative's dead, and what is he going to go after? What was so important to Gary Gensler that he had to take on that next evolution? That's right, NFTs. Go after the Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher project, Stoner Cats, right? Because that's what everybody's really worried about. What do? You get a quick win because they're going to pay $1 million fine because they don't want to spend 20, 30, 40, $50 million battling the SEC to get a win. You go like, I won, but I'm missing 40 or $50 million. In the case of Ripple, it was $150 to $200 million. A different fight, a fight for existence, but a little fun project that basically came out of the pandemic by two a married couple that happened to be actors that had a fun little concept that they would have an animated series just for people who bought an NFT. It's getting ridiculous. And of course, Gary Gensler, the most ridiculous human on the planet. Warren right behind. There's a lot of them that fill that, but they don't care about you. They don't care about protecting the little investor. They certainly didn't care about it with the library case, because one of the things early on is we had Jeremy Kaufman on here from Library, because we loved a decentralized sort of a version of storing videos. We love that. And all of our videos were every one of them was over there and over there on Library. And it's a shame to see something like that go away. Decentralization, non-censorship, and having a voice for people. Yes, there's other things out there. And yeah, YouTube is the king and the best. But again, there's room for a lot of different people out there. Is YouTube going to be eroded anytime soon? No, YouTube is not going away. But again, it's the whole idea of having a decentralized sort of nature of storing videos. It's another way to look at it. We're hearing that a lot in the social media space as well. What else do we have here? I know there's a bunch of things that I wanted to get to. I found this interesting, just when we think about, we heard a lot in this last election cycle that these absentee ballots go out and to a lot of different people. And I saw this, which I thought was interesting to say the least. But this is British Miss at Penny British over there on X, and she said, "I heard so much about these American mail ballots over the years, and here I have one delivered to my address in Bangkok, not labeled to me. Assume as a Brit I can now fill it out and vote Republican." Laughing face. And she put a picture up of it, and here it is. There it is right there. There it is from San Diego County, Registrar of Voters, San Diego, California. It's an official absentee ballot material. So absentee ballots must be requested, right? And I'm not going to get into this sensitive topic, but we've all heard a lot about it. But again, it was addressed to somebody, there you can see right there in Bangkok, Thailand. And the address is covered up. So maybe at some point that was requested, but the thing is, it's supposed to be every election cycle you're supposed to request. And here one shows up out of the blue that I thought was pretty crazy and weird, but there you go. It's like, to Bangkok. Did somebody request this? I don't know. Apparently not, because they don't live in that place anymore, but the address is the same. And then she also put this one up, and I understand the sentiment from a lot of people, but you have to understand there are hundreds of thousands of XRP addresses, a lot of people holding XRP, a lot of people vested in that, a lot of people that follow this. But again, British Miss put this out, say, I won't be attending the Ripple party. It's a real shame because I've held XRP since 2017. Sad face emoji. I hope you guys have a great time. And that was one that I wanted to go to. Jeff wanted to go to. We're not going either, but again, you know, there's only so much room, so much time. Jeff and I are thinking about having something, maybe just like maybe a small like regional meetup then here. But the big one I want to talk about is the Gold Coast. It's happening in Australia. That is going to be an amazing event. Jeff and I are talking about going to that one just because I know Crypto Eddie will be there. I know John Deaton will be there. But again, Australia always on the list of things to visit. But the main driver for Jeff and I is the fact that number 2 or number 3 of our viewers are in Australia. So we've met a good significant amount of people here, but how great would it be to meet people that have been invested in this show and are in here all the time, and they're in here today, but how great would that be to meet face to face? And so that's one that I'm really looking forward to. And the main driver there too, aside from meeting folks, is because it's talking about XRP and XRPL, and builders are going to be there showcasing their work and what they're doing to transform and build the thing. So tickets are going to be going on sale soon. I'd love to see who's going to join us over there from the US side. I know a lot of Aussies will be there, and especially also too, it's not a, if you're over in Asia too, it's an easier trip to make than around the world for, I think it's for me, it's a 5.5 hour flight to either LA or San Francisco, and then it's a 14-hour flight from there. So you're talking about 20 hours, almost a full day of travel time to get there. It's a lot easier from Asia, but that's going to be exciting. We'll have more details on that as they emerge. So excited to talk about that one. Wanted to get to this other story here. Running out of time as usual because I talk too much. That's what I do here. We all do. Jeremy Hogan put this tweet out. Love this one. This one made me laugh. This was Row Rider who put out original tweet, said in a filing, FTX just officially received approval to start dumping their coins. They're going to sell up to 50 million this week, up to 100 million each subsequent week, with an option to extend over $200 million in value. They're also going to be entering short hedges on Bitcoin/ETH, Ethereum, in expectations of price drops. Okay, so this is here's an easier answer for this. Why don't you return all of the digital assets to the people directly? Why are you selling it, especially in a bear market where the value's down? This makes zero sense. But this is bankruptcy court. Who succeeds in bankruptcy court? The attorneys. The attorneys make a crap load of money. So this Jeremy Hogan commented on this and said, since a federal judge is authorizing the sale of FTX digital assets, including Solana and XRP, back into the secondary market, those sales must be legal and exempt from SEC registration requirements. The last I heard, the DEA doesn't sell cocaine, it confiscates back to the cartels. Boom. Awesome. Mic drop there. Jeremy Hogan, incredibly astute observation. How funny is that? But no, nothing makes sense anymore. I wanted to get to this one. Senator Warren teased this at the top of the show. And what we're talking about and looking at here is very simple. It's got Taylor Barr put this out. News. Senator Warren adds 9. That's right, 9 new co-sponsors to her anti-crypto bill. Guess who they are? All belong to the blue team. That's right. But no, Chip, it's nobody likes crypto on both sides. That's true, but who are signing up to be on an anti-crypto bill to sponsor it? I love when you put your names public. When you put your names public, that means that we know exactly what you're up to and we can vote you out. because we don't care what you guys think this is what people want. You don't think, again, you're going to protect us because we don't know how to invest our money, because we're poor victims. We don't know any better. But don't worry, the government's going to is going to fend for us and watch out for us. I'm sure that that's what's going to happen. Of course, the government cares. I don't buy it. It's ridiculous. Goes on to say, let's talk about who these new co-signers are on the anti-crypto bill. Home Security Chair Gary Peters. Blue Team, Judicial Chair Dick Durbin. Blue Team, Dick Durbin's been around for eons. These guys, I don't know how they stay. Tina Smith from Minnesota. Angus King from Maine. Jeannie Shaheen from New Hampshire. Bob Casey from Pennsylvania. Richard Blumenthal from Connecticut. Michael Bennett from Colorado, and Catherine Cortez Mastro from Nevada. So this is who's signing on to the anti-crypto bill, which is a sham in itself. John Deaton commented on this and said, this administration, because of Elizabeth Warren and Gary Gensler, are not pivoting from their anti-crypto agenda. Judge Fela granting Coinbase's MTD is the only thing I see causing a pivot. And not a pivot by choice, but by circumstance. I do not believe that one bit the Solicitor General will authorize an appeal that could reach the Supreme Court related to the major questions doctrine. Such a ruling by the Supreme Court could severely limit all other federal agencies across the board. Very well said, and it very well could. And this whole anti-crypto thing, you know, everything stems from, everything wants to go back to taxes, right? We just laughed at a video where we took a look at how exchanges, we want to buy something decentralized and permissionless, but you got to buy it off an exchange, which you got to have your blood type and your KYC, your anti-money laundering, your AML, and all that stuff to be able to purchase it. And 3 to 5 days later, bingo, you are now authorized to buy a permissionless, decentralized token. And that's the whole point. Decentralization is the greatest threat to government officials. They do not like decentralization because it threatens their very existence. When we start thinking that we, the people, we don't need a representative, they don't represent us anyway. They don't listen to our beliefs. They don't even hold town halls anymore because they go there and get shouted down, which means they're off base with most of their thought pattern. You go to a town hall, they hold them maybe once a year, usually during recess in July, August. They hold them, they get shouted down, angry people show up, and they don't have them anymore. But wait, that's what we're supposed to go to voice our opinion and tell you what we the people think. They don't care. Well, decentralization destroys that whole concept. The whole idea of a DAO, decentralized autonomous organization, which will be rebranded. But the whole idea that you could have decentralized government in the sense that we represent ourselves. This isn't the 1700s where we need you to go to a centralized location, Washington, and talk to what your people want. They don't do that. They get in there, they get inside stock tips, they become billionaires. If you want to look at Nancy Pelosi, there's an account on X that follows her stock trades. All you have to do is buy when she buys, sell when she sells. You're going to make a mint, but not her necessarily. No, it's not her buying it. It's her husband. So the whole idea, there's a bill circulating right now that makes all people in Congress exempt from buying and family members, right? So she gets the inside information. And most people get inside information go to jail, right? For insider trading. You get a stock tip. You hear somebody, they work at a firm, they're like, hey, by the way, we're rolling out this new thing. It's going to revolutionize the industry. You know about it. That's called insider information. You then go buy or short, or something's happening, or we just found out we haven't released a major breach. Some data was stolen. We haven't announced it yet. You're talking to a friend who works there. All of a sudden you go short a stock. It's all insider information. But you know who's exempt from that? That's right, Congress. You know, most government officials are exempt from that. Hey, they make the laws. Don't worry, they represent you. Don't be worried about it. What could possibly go wrong? So that's the anti-crypto stance right there. Then we have, this is another one that I wanted to get to. I know we're getting close on time here, but might run a little bit over. Haley Lemon put this out. She summarized this article here. This was the Gary Gensler testimony that happened recently in Congress. But his one quote here, I've never seen a field so rife with misconduct and people trying to run outside of the law, Gensler said. SEC, Gensler slams crypto again, says trouble can spill into the broader economy. And then we have this. John Deaton said, this made me laugh. When I first read this quote, I immediately thought Gary Gensler was talking about his time at Goldman Sachs. God, that is so spot on. When you look at a field so rife with misconduct, Jeff and I have gone through, we went through it again last week, the banks, how they've been prosecuted, fined for money laundering and all kind of misconduct, right? But they get the slaps on the wrist. So if it happens in crypto, oh my God, crypto is evil, it's horrible. So they're always protecting the incumbents every single time without fail. It's always about the incumbents. I get it. It's the other thing. Chris already put this tweet out right here. Love this one. It's a great observation. Stablecoins are the killer app for the global transfer values. Talked a little bit about that earlier too with who wants to hold, and the whole idea of stablecoins gaining significance, surpassing MasterCard volume and soon to surpass Visa, aiming for Bitcoin. Hence why Ripple Liquidity Hub just added Tether and USDC. And Naveen Gupta just said that ODL, on-demand liquidity, which is now Ripple Payments, will use other crypto. So there you go right there. There's a chart tweeted out there, Global Payment Network transfer values. You can see it. But it's amazing when you start getting on the stablecoin, those markets start rising, and then you actually surpass the amount of volume. It is interesting. And so this is, and somebody said to me the other day, they said, well, Chip, I don't really get what you care about an actual bull run, because let's suppose XRP hits $5, $10. Let's suppose Cardano hits $15, $20. Let's suppose, ETH gets back up around $4,500. What are you going to do? Everything's going to be so clogged up. There's not going to be zero liquidity, and you're not going to be able to get your crypto off the exchanges. Well, I said that's true, but however, the saving grace there might be, but you may be able to park it temporarily into a stable coin. Like that could be another use case as investors is I can't do that. I can get that into a stable coin to lock the value because you have a volatile asset that's up and down. Yes, I know that most, if not all, there's a couple of them. There's a new stable coin in Turkey that's pegged to their fiat currency. I know that, but most of them, the majority of the ones we know about are pegged to the US dollar, which is doing the downgrade slide. But again, if you're going to move it into a bank anyway, you're converting it to fiat. But again, another potential use case if you're not able to move value off of the exchanges. But I look at a world where we don't have exchanges anymore, and to have to rely on exchanges to get to our banks, because our wallets, our digital asset wallets will be the way. We'll just simply pay. And the fact is that the XRPL is making that, XLM, right? They're focusing on consumer payments, XRP. And there's so many payment providers out there. You saw what we just saw with the stablecoin test that went on over there in Palau. I mean, a wallet, click, the value's there. So when we start thinking we don't have to move off ramps, we don't have to get to this crypto, and a Bitcoin is accepted everywhere, great. I'll send you value of Cardano or ETH or XRP. I'll send it using a wallet. We'll use the XRP. I'll look at Spend the Bits and how it's leveraging still the fastest way, the best way. Lightning? No. Lightning's got a lot of fail points. Spend the Bits, leveraging the XRPL, getting Bitcoin from point A to point B, 4 or 5 seconds. Hey, what if it takes 6? Who cares, right? It's a lot faster. So this is where we're headed. But I look at the day when everybody accepts it. There will be a payment provider, someone that built on the XRPL, that will accept anything. 6,000 tokens. Okay, what do you want? 6,000 tokens, boom, 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 and all of a sudden it goes out to the fiat of choice or the stable coin of choice. You want to go buy a car. The dealership says, great. Click, move the value, move your stable coin, they receive it, move your cryptocurrency, they receive it in whatever they've designated. We're not going to exchange, going back to a bank. This is where we're headed. This is when mass adoption happens. Right now on Shopify, actually, we're looking into being able to add that to our Shopify store so you can pay in crypto, because there's a plugin over there that allows you to accept cryptocurrency as payment. So that's where our Badass Yetis coffee is. And by the way, if I haven't mentioned this episode here brought to you by, that's right, the Badass Yetis. This is Obsidian Bold, what I'm drinking today, whole bean coffee. It's phenomenal. It is good. We love all of the people that have been trying it, and they love it as well. And Jim D says, yeah, this is very true. Deaton is fearless. And there might have been one or two other ones. I wanted to, I know we're running a little long today, but I wanted to get to this stuff. Let's put in, let me load this. Hang on a second here. I'm going to do something. One more or two more. I get a little bit extra show today. I don't like to go too long, but here we go. Sometimes it's inevitable. We have to do it. We have to do it. So I wanted to put this one up. This is the World Economic Forum. And guess what they're talking about? Well, let's just see what they're talking about here. Let's just check it out. Short little clip here, and then I want to show a tweet.
The benefits of digital money, there are huge potential gains. It's not just about digital forms of physical currency. You can have programmability, units of central bank currency with expiry dates. You could have, as I argue in my book, a potentially better and some people might see it, or a darker world where the government decides that units of central bank money can be used to purchase some things, but not other things that it deems less desirable.
Deems less desirable. That sounds so familiar of what's going on. It sounds like the last 3 years on steroids. One of the reasons I'm not a big advocate of that, I do like a little bit more, I prefer more of a stable coin, a digital version of currency. We saw what happened in Palau, but the whole idea of programmability doesn't excite me, because when governments will be governments are going to do bad, because that's the extent of government. They're not looking out for you. But Warren Davidson tweeted this out right here. Wait a minute, what happened? Disappeared. There we go. Let me just make a couple setting changes here. And there we go. Tweeted this out, and he was talking about the video we just watched, which says, this illustrates why I'm working to criminalize designing, developing, building, or establishing a central bank digital currency. I'm not big on central banks. I believe the biggest, most chaotic part of a central bank is the fact that it's not a sovereign currency. It's a third party, especially the Federal Reserve. Federal Reserve, founded in the early teens of the previous century, was a system built on debt. It's one of the reasons we ended up with income tax. It's the destroyers of all freedoms, of anything you could probably go. We don't know what their balance sheet is. They tell us, we don't know. It's never been audited. But imagine you have to borrow money from a third party that you now have to pay back interest on. I'm sorry, that doesn't work for me. I think it's a horrible, pathetic system, and I believe central banks will be crushed. I believe it'll start in the US first with the next administration, and I think we're going to say goodbye to central banks probably forever. And one last note, I will put this out. David Joel Katz Schwartz is over there. I believe he's in Singapore, but he was tweeting on Xing out a lot of posts here about what Americans will understand and what Americans will not understand. He put this one out and he said, Americans will never understand this. This one says, bag on the floor, make space for more. So that means when you're in a tight spot and you go into a store location and you've got a big backpack on your back and everyone's got the big backpack, well, put it on the floor because it makes space. But we don't really have that issue in the US, because we don't really have, outside of maybe bodegas in New York, there's smaller places where it's a little more short on space. It wouldn't become a problem. It's why he says Americans wouldn't understand it. But I like this one right here because somebody put this meme up, and and this is X. This is what you see over here. This is crypto X. Is what you see. Doesn't matter what's posted. It will always come back to this because somebody will read into it. And this is the guy who famously has two buttons, sweating up a storm. This is the meme you've seen out there where he's got two choices and his finger is between them and he's trying to figure out which button to choose. The first choice for the button is space for more, means pack your bags because your rocket's leaving. Or it means the other one is put your bag down and short because it's going down. So I'm going to end it right there. But that's so funny to me is that doesn't matter. Whatever David Schwartz tweets out, everybody is to flip the switch and it means this and it should be this. And I see influencers out there spewing all kinds of nasty, weird, bizarre data points. And I know hype sells. Yeah, we all want to become rich. We all want to be rich. We all want to do, great things in the world and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, it's getting to the point of where it's beyond ridiculous. And we will talk about it. We will laugh about it. And that's about all I can say there. So anyway, guys, I wanted to say thank you so much. The biggest, the best, the brightest in all of crypto. Really appreciate you always being here, supporting the channel. I believe Jeff will be back tomorrow night. So we'll be back with you with another bunch of topics to run through. We'll talk about freedom equals decentralization, because that's really the overarching theme. This whole idea of decentralization is the probably most significant occurrence in human condition and human history. I believe it started with the Magna Carta, and I believe it was brought even further along with the Constitution of the United States, which limited the government powers, told the government what it can't do, not what it can do, which most constitutions tell you, we can do this and we can do that and we can take this and we can take that. And yeah, it's eroded over the years, but again, it's still upheld, and there's a lot of court decisions that have been upheld because of the US Constitution. But I think that next evolutionary step is upon us, and I believe that's decentralization, and it's the greatest threat to the incumbents. It's the greatest threat. But you look at all the ETFs, you either embrace it, first you fight it, then you embrace it, then you adopt the technology, and then we see that once those Bitcoin ETFs take off, and you see so much big, everyone's going to have all this Bitcoin, you're going to see the price jump. So first you battle it, then you jump in head first. You say, how can I get rich and leverage this? And how do we make a gazillion dollars? That's how you do it. And I just made up that terminology, a gazillion. I don't know what that means. It's a lot of value. I will say that. That's all we have for you guys. Listen, we'll see you tomorrow night. Go out there, be productive in the world. Remember, it's about the builders in the space. Remember, it's about those that are making the world a better place. And many of them are doing it on the XRPL. Much love from Chip. That's all I got. Chip, and I'll say Jeff, even though he's not here, he's always here in spirit. Chip and Jeff, see you guys on the next one.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.